I want to put up on the screen here an image of a tweet from disinvited Barack Obama birthday guest David Axelrod, talking about how
Right.
in 2009, 2010, the ACA negotiations were very difficult despite the Democrats' supermajority, which ought to be some sort of justification for their difficulty passing Build Back Better. So here's the tweet that he put out. In 09 to 10, we had 59 and at times 60 Democratic senators and a huge majority in the House, and still had a momentous battle to enact the ACA. Today, both chambers are evenly divided, which makes doing something as ambitious as the BBB even harder. So what he intended as an excuse is really sort of giving away the game a bit.
We suck. Don't bother.
Right. He's saying even if you have 59 or 60, the number doesn't really matter. And now the defense to that would be that, well, you couldn't have done Obamacare through budget reconciliation the way you're trying to do the BBB through reconciliation. Now, that may be true because of the specifics of Obamacare. But you could certainly do Medicare through all. Could certainly do Medicare for all through budget reconciliation. You know how we know that? Because they're proposing an expansion of Medicare under Build Back Better. So if you can expand Medicare to cover vision, hearing, dental under budget reconciliation, then the same theory ought to hold that you can extend Medicare. Expand Medicare to cover everything for everybody under budget reconciliation. So if you had actually gone for the correct healthcare reform, you wouldn't have needed the 59 or at times 60 senators that he referenced in that. You'd have needed 50 plus Jolton Joe Biden in the VP spot as a tiebreaker. So this just, I mean, that tweet just, it proves what so many people have been saying for so long, which is that, you know, Manchin and Sinema are the bad guys right now because they have 50 seats. There's a whole backbench of Democrats who would give you a hard time over passing anything worthwhile if their margins in the Senate were bigger.
Right. It's very interesting that you bring up this tweet, because all day, you know, knowing that I was going to do this interview, I was thinking about it today. And the thing I wanted to mention is that Manchin, right? I mean, like, there is no such thing as Manchin, Sinema. These are, you know, total illusions. I was going to say that if you had a 60 vote, if the Dems had a 60 vote, you know, majority in the Senate, there would be 10 Democrats or 11, you know, putting up obstacles. If you had 55, there would be 5. If you had 60, there would be 10. If you had 50, you have 1 or 2. So that's because we know what happened with Obamacare. We can go back several Democratic administrations, and we know that that's what always happens within the party. They encourage these obstructionists. Somehow it never seems to happen with the Republicans. They don't have to deal with the parliamentarian, or, you know, John McCain might cause some trouble on some things, but eventually in the end, he'll go along with whatever war, whatever shit they want to start here, surveillance package. He'll go along in the end. So,
well, look, I mean, I think to a certain extent, I'm sorry, I don't mean to actually cut you off, but I think what happened with the McCain thumbs down thing, I mean, who knows? We talk all kinds of speculation about rotating villain strategies on the Democratic side. There could have been something similar that went on in GOP circles, because if you think about it, the political price that they would pay if they actually repealed Obamacare would be pretty extreme. Like, they have to act like they want to do it because the diehard Republican base just wants to erase anything with the Obama name on it. But from a policy perspective and a political perspective, do they really want to take that hit when 25 million people lose their health insurance in a midterm year or an election? I don't think so. I don't think they were as angry. I mean, Trump was angry about that because Trump is all id and impulse and ego. And so he was pissed off. But I don't think the rank and file Republican House member or senator was that upset that John McCain gave him the thumbs down on the Senate floor. First of all, I didn't see it. I didn't see that anger coming from really anybody but Trump, maybe a congressperson here or there. But most of the Republicans pretty much gave him a pass on that.
They dodged a bullet.
Yeah.
From the political point of view, it works for them. And it's very astute, right? So they can play as if they tried, but okay, you know, we got this Maverick to deal with, right? So he comes in very useful in the end, except that the Maverick never stops wars or any of these really horrible things, right? It's like in the Reagan years, people, conservatives, the silent majority who elected him, they had an expectation that he would be very strong on social policy, on abortion and school prayer and things like that. It turned out that he didn't do much. And so within the Republican Party, if there's a faction that prevents that from happening, that's actually good politics and good policy, right? So that's different. Right. But with Democrats, even if it's good politics and good policy, as you saed, right, you always have somebody or some group of people within the party who are not going to let this happen. And trust me, I mean, I don't even want to talk about Manchin and Sinema because they are not the problem here. The problem is the voters who voted for the Democrats. It's the people who thought Trump was a fascist and gave us this administration. It's the progressive enablers like the squad, even to a large extent Bernie, because all he's doing is, what did Bernie get us after a year of being budget chair? I mean, it's a legitimate question you can ask, right? Because the whole thing was going to be, well, he's going to work with Biden and push him to the left and hold his feet to the fire. So a year has gone by. He's the budget chairman. What do we have except for those $1,400 checks, which again, that was a Trump stimulus bill. What do we have, Bernie? We don't even have the hearing and dental and vision extension of Medicare, right? That's the reality. And it doesn't look like next year is going to be any better. And then when you lose the House and Senate, that's all over. So these are the people we should be angry at, because couldn't somebody have said at some point, hey, you know what, the parliamentarian, fuck her, get rid of her. Let's get a new one. She needs to know. And of course, this is just a game they're playing. She knows she's untouchable when it's the Democrats. If it's the Republicans, did you ever hear of a parliamentarian?
No, no, it's one thing.
No, they actually fired a parliamentarian for ruling against them.
Oh, who did? Who's that? But
the Republicans. Right. That was under Bush. Yeah, they fired the parliamentarian.
If anybody even messes with that, they're going to break, the Georgia senator's legs or Isaacson or whatever. Like, okay, just everybody get in line. So, if we want to talk about failures this year, immigration, police reform, even voting rights, however narrowly and ridiculously the Democrats define it, even that didn't happen. So immigration, there were 4 different plans in the reconciliation put forward to the parliamentarian, and she knocked down. So the first one is the most expansive, and they cut it down. Second time, Plan B, Plan C, Plan D. And the fate of those plans, even someone like me who's politically informed, I mean, I had to look it up. Each time these plans were knocked down by the parliamentarian, I had to search for it to see, oh, it happened 5 days ago. She said, no, it's not going to happen. It was not covered each time. There was no mention, there's no discussion that the fate of 10, 20 million plus people, which was a huge issue in the 4 years of Trump, right? Immigrants, what's going to happen to them? And you can't even find it in the news that the parliamentarian now somehow has the authority to even knock down temporary status or temporary reprieve for these people. So nothing on immigration, nothing at all. I mean, that's just one example of something that didn't happen this year.
Thank you, everybody, for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe wherever you saw it, on YouTube, on Rumble, or on Facebook. We have channels on all 3 of those platforms. Also, consider helping us create more content by becoming a member at patreon.com/DoDissidents, or on Facebook, where you can become a supporter right through our Facebook page and get bonus content every week, as well as call-in access to our live stream shows. Thank you very much for your continued support.